instrument which is used not for playing, it is just for getting a continuous harmony. Music therapy, we all have heard of the term music therapy, but just I'm giving a definition. It's a clinical and evidence-based use of musical intervention. It could be vocal or instrumental for individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional. It is divided into two, which is therapeutic and clinical. So if you have seen a musician at a hallway playing a saxophone or a piano, that is an example for therapeutic music therapy. But if music therapy is used for a breast cancer patient, if that patient has like surgery, and pre-operatively or peri-operatively, if the patient listening to music therapy for a stipulated amount of time by trained medical professional music therapists, that is called as clinical music. So this is by the American Music Therapy Association. It is, music therapy is used to reduce stress, reduce pain, and to evoke emotions state or mental states and enhance memory. So when I say evoke emotions, in Indian classical music, when we are trained for classical music or classical dance, we have been trained to evoke these 9 kinds of emotions. For example, love, courage, sorrow, fear, disgust, wonder, anger, laughter, and tranquility. You might ask, like, does music evoke anger? So there is a Indian classical raga. So raga is a musical grammar, which is simply a notation or a pattern which evokes moods or emotions, which I'll explain later. So there is a particular ragam called Adhana, which evokes anger in, please don't listen to Adhana, so that's the take home message. So for love, I can demonstrate. It is a ragam which evokes love, and there is another called Nata which evokes courage. For example, Jaya 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 Janaki Kanta Jaya Sadhu Jaya Vinuta Jaya Tu Mahimananda Jaya Bhagyavanta Jaya Jaya. It evokes courage. Sorrow. Kind of evokes sadness, so on and so forth. Coming to clinical, it has beneficial effect in heart attack. I think by reducing stress and blood pressure and stuff, reducing anxiety, post-operative pain. So when I was doing masters, I had a friend who was doing PhD in that. So he's an orthopedician. So his work was in peri-operative and operative and post-operative patients under supervision. He used to play Veena. He's also a Veena player, and see how that affects. And next one is my area of interest, that is chemotherapy and radiation-induced stress, bone marrow transplantation, and American Society of Hypertension recently stated that they have a lot of clinical trials which showed that music therapy has reduced blood pressure in several patients. It's all randomized controlled trials. So one of the leading
One of
programs
the
in the world is Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Program in New York. So they have conducted this study for this autologous stem cell transplant patients. So that showed significant reduction. So that showed around 28% reduction in combined anxiety and depression and 37% reduction in total mood disturbance. So this is an article published by American Society of Clinical Oncology, which is like the biggest platform and the most reputed platform for all oncologists in the world. So they have stated that a recent systematic review of trials, it was around like 52 trials, showed 3,731. Actually, it's only 3,731 patients. It showed that beneficial effects on anxiety, all those things I mentioned before, like pain, fatigue, quality of life, and small effects on heart rate and respiratory rate. So this Journal of Clinical Oncology is the journal published by American Society of Clinical Oncology. It's one of the high impact factor journals in oncology. So their project was effects of music therapy on anesthesia requirements and anxiety in women undergoing ambulatory breast surgery for cancer diagnosis and treatment. It's again a randomized controlled trial. So randomized controlled trial is nothing. It's the most supreme kind of best of study because we have cases and controls both undergoing the same kind of disease like a cancer or a surgery, whatever, and you give the same, you give music therapy to the case group, and control group is we're comparing with the control group. So that showed significant effect of significant reduction in anxiety. And this is another study. It's very interesting because this was published in Support Care Cancer. So this is about they found out the imaging of brain and was seeing how it reacts to music. So functional imaging data indicate that music modulates the activity of several limbic and paralimbic brain structures. Of them, the ventral striatum, dorsomedial midbrain, and amygdala, and the hippocampus. And especially interesting because of their involvement in the pathophysiology of pain, anxiety, and depression. So these structures also have a large number of ligand receptors, including those associated with opioids, GABA, and dopamine 11, suggesting music may affect the same neuronal pathways that are involved in the functional changes underlying pain, anxiety, and depression. So I strongly think that clinical music therapy, be it live or recorded, if consented, should be part of the treatment from the very first day the patient reports to the hospital. So why? Because of all these evidences. Secondly, it is a cost-effective, urgent, and non-invasive, zero side effects, and everyone enjoys music, right? And but however, I would suggest that, as I mentioned earlier, 52 trials, just 52 trials in the entire United States. And out of 52, we have only like 3,000 patients. I feel this is an era of evidence-based medicine, and we need more and more clinical trials and more patients to prove this. So now that we know music therapy is essential and everything, so now coming to Indian classical music, which I am trained in, it has the most complex combinations of musical grammar in the world. So you can imagine how would be my masters and bachelors. It has been like a tough task. So basically, while learning, like for example, ragas, coming to the definition of raga, sequence of selected notes that lend appropriate mood and emotion in a selective combination. So this raga can evoke an emotion. As I said, the 9 kind of emotions or states of mind I said. Plus, there are certain ragas which you can sing in the morning, afternoon, evening, and night. So when I say night, there is a raga in Indian classical music called Neelambari, which even in the United States for lullabies, the composers use Neelambari raga because that induces sleep. And another interesting fact is that there are a couple of raga which evokes the feeling of rain, which I'm going to demonstrate later, rain. Second one is oceanic waves, and third is spring. So that's that. So main divisions, there is South Indian and there is North Indian. So India is mainly divided into North and South. South is 4 states. So this South Indian, why I'm explaining this? Because of the language. There are 5 languages in South Indian music, and North Indian is predominantly from Persian. So they have a lot of Persian and Arabic influences. It's mostly in Hindi or Urdu. So South Indian is one in which I am trained in, so I can speak more authentically about it. There are 22 notes in an octave, versus in Western we have only 1 to 12 notes per octave. So this 22 notes, basically there are 7 notes which are the stem, and the rest 15 are the derivations of, this has a significance, I'll explain later. So the rest 15 are derivations. And there are 35 rhythms. It's not like 1 or 2, there are 35 huge rhythms and a lot of connections and derivations from that. But it's just to prove that it's very complicated and complex grammar. So, how many of you here have gone to a yoga class before or is going to a yoga class?
Mommy.
Okay, great. So, have you guys heard of this word called chakras?
Chakras.
Yeah.
Chakra?
Yeah. Basically, it is a Sanskrit word. Translation is wheel. Do you guys have any idea what a chakra is? Anyone? What did they... Okay.
You want to tell them?
Yeah, please.
What is a chakra?
What is a chakra?
Is it an energy center?
Yeah.
So
Oh.
it says energy centers of the body.
Okay.
And we have 7, what we know of in the West.
Yeah, there are actually many, but these 7 are the main things. So basically, this is just a wheel of energy circling at 7 focal points in the axial line of the human body, starting from the very end of vertebral column to the brain. So I don't have like thorough understanding in these chakras, but what I understand is that there are, the first wheel explains about vitality, second one about ease in relationship, third is about firmness and organizational talent, fourth is about love, fifth is about transformation of energy, sixth is confidence in one's own intuition, and seventh is cosmic consciousness and interior peace. So why am I explaining it here? So as I said, there are 7 notes, basic notes in Indian classical music. They are compared with the 7 chakras. I can demonstrate. It's like sa re ga ma pa dha ni. It ascends down. The frequency goes up. So the whole point is in Indian classical system with these lot of ragas, like, so basically there are 72 ragas and each of them have like derivations, so there are thousands of ragas, and based on these thousands of ragas there are billions of compositions, right? All these compositions are just permutation and combination of these 7 notes. So what is the take home message? When you are singing or listening to music, what you're actually doing is what you do in the yoga, right? What is yoga? Yoga, you are mentally or physically or spiritually, it's a practice, right? So the same thing is, music is kind of equivalent to meditation. That's my take home. So I advocate instrumental music over vocals. So we all know that music does not have barriers, anyone can enjoy it. But how about a patient with anxiety or pain or, you know, perioperative? So I think, I mean post-operative. So I think if it's language-less, right? Without a language. It would be more, I mean, it will have universal appreciation. Secondly, it's kind of physics, it's octaves. There are 5 to 7 octaves in, it's not just about veena, like cello or violin, piano. We can play like 5 to 7 octaves, or even I can change the frequency and play like double octaves, versus in vocal, any like accomplished musician can go only up to 3 plus minus. And mono or polyphonous. So in veena, I can at a time play 5 notes like at one point, but in vocal, maybe we can sing only 1 note at a point. So why are, these are all musical points. Why are all these things important? Because these, like how it affects the human brain, right? When in an instrument, you have a broader range or broader spectrum to enjoy, but in vocal, it will be comparatively less, and that's why it is effective. Now coming to my instrument, it's called veena, or it could be spelled as V-I-N-A as well. So it's a Sanskrit term. So the translation in English is anything that can be played. So our body is a veena. So the strings of our body is the larynx, right? Any musical instrument could be a veena. So now coming to the Saraswati veena. Saraswati is the goddess of art and knowledge. But it is just that there are 4 kinds of veena: Rudra veena, Vichitra veena, Mohana veena, and Saraswati veena. And Saraswati veena is the main kind of veena. Rest all are derivations. So let's not go into details of that. For convenience, I'll just say veena now. So fretted plucked 7-stringed instrument. So fretted, there are only very few fretted stringed instruments, and there are 24 frets which are made of bell metal. It's an it's a brass-like alloy. And there are 7 strings, 4 are main and 3 are like drawn. It's for just to accompany. So it's kind of complicated. Whenever I explain the 35 rhythms, whenever that rhythm comes, you have to play upstroke and downstroke at once. It's kind of like very complicated. Like at one point, whenever the beat comes, down and up together, down and up, down and up. It's kind of complicated, but yeah, that's the string. And its length is 4 feet. And veena is tuned at 150 Hertz as fundamental frequency, or 2.5 octave. So what is the significance? This is not I have heard from people or read it in some text or something. This is an experimental study which was conducted by some brilliant team of physicists in India, one of the premier engineering schools. So they conducted this physics experiment and found out that this 7 strings ranges from a frequency of 0.375 times frequency to up until 2 times the fundamental frequency. So in this wide spectrum of frequency, if the fundamental is fixed at 150, you will get, that will undergo resonance with the most beautiful harmonic. So that's kind of physics, but I didn't want to mention. And it's one of the most ancient instruments also. It was in the 1700s that it was devised. And it's a national instrument of India and queen of instruments. So, is it necessary to talk about physics or acoustics of veena? What I'm trying to say or explain here is why this instrument is more is important in music therapy, and why is it more or melodious to the human brain. So, Nobel laureate for physics, Sir C.V. Raman, he's an Indian physicist who's also a Carnatic musician. So the first ever published paper on veena's acoustics and her remarkable tonal quality was in 1921. It's like that early. And he says, what is the significance of the harmonics? It's the powerful series of overtones. So veena, when you play, it creates 2 kinds of waves, longitudinal and transverse. Longitudinal is too high of a frequency that you won't be able to listen to it, but transverse is the one you can listen to. So C.V. Raman investigated whether his feeling that the veena produced the most exquisite musical sound was a subjective reaction or has a sound physical basis. He found that the bridge of the vena is so cunningly constructed that the Helmholtz law, that the position at which the string is plucked cannot be a note, is violated. Thus, this instrument produced innumerable harmonics, making it sound closest in harmonic content to the human voice. So there is a bridge in vena. I can show you this part. So as you can see there, so upper surface of the bridge is of curved metal and the string leaves it at a tangent. It makes a tangent there. So it's like a special form of broad bridge. Only vena has a broad bridge. Rest all string instruments has like a sharp bridge. And it is confirmed by one of the premier engineering schools, also like top 50 engineering schools in the world, Indian Institute of Technology. Some non-medical discussions. While growing up in India, I started learning vena at the age of 7. So I have heard, and even if it's a village or a metro city, there are like lot of like every nook and corner, every yoga classes. So I have seen people playing vena in these yoga centers with this, the first slide which I mentioned, with the chakras. So it's used in meditation. It's an auspicious instrument, as I mentioned. It's Saraswati Veena, goddess of art and literature, plays veena. Also veena is kind of worshipped. There is kind of a worshipping day, like a puja for arts and literature. So that particular day you do a lot of worshipping of this veena. And also if there is any traditional event or ritual, we play veena in temples. And it's part of South Indian culture. I have no clue about the scientific basis on this. So in South India, when a lady is pregnant, especially at the 8th month of gestation, there is a ritual that a live veena performance will be there by a musician, and the lady will be sitting in a swing and listening to this. So I asked my mom and a couple of people, so they told me that it is just that the fetus will be able to listen to the song, and thereby kind of it has a beneficial effect in the memory of the kid. So I'm not sure, but I thought it's an interesting point. Secondly, this is one thing I have found very interesting, that the comparison of veena to the human body. I think I can remove it so that I can see. Yeah. So this was a published book in 1936. I can explain. So the comparison is that the 24 frets, the black thing which you can see there, that is compared to the pre-sacral vertebrae, and the 7 strings compared to the spinal cord. The dragon head, that's kind of a dragon if you see closely, that is compared to the sacrum and coccyx. And the frets are compared to the body, and resonator compared to the brain. And we know that the vertebrae, as it goes down, it gets thickened. Like that, it goes thickened when you see closely. It goes thickened, the frets. Sorry, this animation. Okay. So about my clinical trial. So I have a very small clinical trial in my medical school. In this huge world, that small, tiny, teeny spot is my med school. It's one of the 6 eminent institutions in India. So I'm running a randomized control trial to know whether Indian classical instrumental music has an effect in anxiety, mood disturbance, pain. So what we do is, for each of these 3 things, we have standardized questionnaire. We give it to these. Basically, my study is a pilot study. So now we are running it only for head and neck cancer patients, but we are going to elaborate the study into more number patients. So as I mentioned before, there is cases and controls, and it is single-blinded. That patient will definitely know about whether he's receiving music or not. And the evaluating person will be blinded. He does not know who received music and who does not, to avoid the bias. And there is a baseline assessment before music therapy. We do a baseline assessment, and then at week 3, 5, and 7 of chemoradiation, we reassess. Our study is completed, so I'm planning to present it in ASCO Palliative San Francisco this November. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, although they say, so there is a kind of ragam which evokes the feeling of rain. So usually that is played in summer. So especially South Indian classical musicians, they think that they believe that they can create an ambience anytime in the day. So whether it is summer or winter, they can make this feeling of rainy season if they are playing this ragam called Amritavarshini. So I'm going to demonstrate two tunes or ragams. One will evoke the feeling of rain, and the second one ocean waves. Okay. This is just for you.
So my next ragam is something, it's called Samudra Priya. Samudra means ocean, Priya means love. So something about ocean and the waves. So it's usually played when in the beach, like when the oceans are, like when you can feel for the ocean waves, and you usually play Veena in the beach. See, this is polyphonic. Last one is called as Swan's Song. This is one of my personal favorite also. I was 10-year-old. It was my first invited national music festival. It's one of the most prestigious things to go there. So I performed this there. So I thought it would be fun to perform it here.
find when you're studying in medical school?
Like in music therapy, this study. So I got a reply. I mean, I got a text from my professor, who's the main investigating officer. He said that the pain scale has reduced from 7 score, which was the base. It has come to 5. I think that is a huge difference. So pain scale. So pain reduction, it's like a scale of 10. So you ask the patient, like, out of on a scale to 0 to 10, how much will you evaluate your pain? So baseline was 7, it has come to 5, so which I think is a great thing. But the details I don't know yet. When I go, I'll evaluate that. Yeah.
How do you plan to use the music with your medicine, with your therapy, or in medicine?
So, like in future.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the same question 2 years ago when I was rotating at Harvard. So I was asking the dean, somehow I met him, and he connected me to one of the renowned music therapists. She is in Drexel, she's in Philly. So she told me that, in order for you to practice, anyway you're going to come to the US for training, but you need a board certification in music therapy to practice music therapy in medicine. But since I have a running PhD and a master's in Vienna, I wouldn't, they will bypass it, like maybe 1 year of training. It's usually 3 years of training, maybe 1 year of training and some kind of test, the regular test you might need to take. But I'll get the certification soon. So my plan is when I train for, like when I train my oncology, so like 6 years, at the end of 6 years, I am planning to take this music and like play in the wards of like chemo or IT, wherever the infusion is taking place and something like that. Because this idea was given to me by the same music therapist. She was like, in New York, in Columbia, etc., there are a lot of oncologists who are interested in music but not musicians themselves. But they play music in their ITA, in their infusion centers, and like, so I think that's a great idea. So that's what I'm going to do. But not, so basically together, my oncology, so I plan to become an oncologist, so my oncology and music like together.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. There's actually a hospital in New Orleans where I'm from.
Okay.
It's a cancer hospital, and they specialize in vasectomy. And I think it's, I'm sorry, not mastectomy.
Okay, mastectomy.
Yeah,
The breast surgery.
removal of the breasts, and then they do the plastic surgery where they give you breasts, basically. So they
Okay.
remove the cancer, remove the old breast, give you new.
Right.
And this hospital is like world renowned, so there are people flying in from everywhere. Actually, the Queen of England's niece or somebody was there at the time. I am a Reiki master teacher, so I specialize in energy healing. So much like what you're speaking of,
Right.
music therapy, how it helps pain tolerance or raising the pain tolerance, I'm sorry. It helps with therapy, healing, and that kind of thing. So with Reiki, I was brought in by a patient there, a good friend of her daughter.
Okay.
And I was new to it. I didn't know that the hospitals actually allowed what they would consider alternative medicine, or that type of healing into the medical scene. But there I was, this Reiki practitioner, and I'm administering Reiki. So I thought that was interesting, what you do and what you're trying to do with blending the two. That's wonderful, because now that opens doors for other healing modalities.
Right.
That are not being recognized in mainstream medicine. So.
Right. I think the issue of today is there are no, so when I say, okay, this instrument is good for, but nobody will believe, right? When
Right.
something has to be in practice, it needs to be like in the best form of research or something. So there should be more randomized controlled trials or something. So my trial is the very first trial in the world using this instrument. So I think in the United States, like traveling, talking to people, there are a lot of people who are trained in like various instruments, who I think, like classical instruments especially, I think they all have like potential in some kind of healing. Sometimes I'm not arguing anything that this instrument can heal everyone, but maybe some other instrument can heal someone else. Something like that. So there are billions and billions of instruments all over. So I think more studies must come up, because so that patients have choice.
Mm-hmm.
If not this, something else.
Absolutely.
If an Indian patient or in the Asian subcontinent someone comes, this might suit. It's kind of I don't know. It's the psychology also. The people will find it. Oh, okay, I'm Indian, so might be an Indian instrument will be. But somebody from Australia, I'm just giving you an example. So I think more instruments, more trials must come up with different instruments. I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
Terry, anything? Any questions?
Really happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Any questions or any review about it? Thank you so much for coming. I know you like Indian instruments. Terry was telling you attend class.
Indian food as well.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, we should have
Right.
food. So will you go into the hospital and play the instrument yourself, or will you record yourself on CD and have it played throughout? Because I'm wondering how you're going to
Yes.
spread.
So my last study was a recorded music, but I feel the sound waves, the energy, it passes effectively if it's played as live.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm going back home to prepare for the steps. So I think my plan is that we have a hospital, not me, but my mentor has a hospital, so I'm planning to play live to the patients over there undergoing infusion and chemo. So that will be live. But sometimes so my intern year I started the project and it was very difficult for me to coordinate stuff and get, if not me, some other Veena playing people there. So, but for the time being it was recorded, but I'm extending this training to live.
Now, have you thought about in the near future also teaching this instrument and having people
Yes.
underneath you and then having them spread out or go out across the world and
That's a very good question. But I think I'll be happy as a performing artist.
yeah.
But yeah. But I do have a PhD, I have a running PhD, so I'm planning to apply for a guest lecture or some guest professor somewhere. But in that case, I'll take like thesis students, graduate students, but not the practical Veena graduate students.
I hope you teach, because I would definitely love to.
Help learn, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe Skype learning or something. Yeah,
It's
sure.
such a beautiful instrument.
I will consider that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming.
Fantastic show. Fantastic
Absolutely.
production.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
And I can see the healing. I mean, I've listened to ragas, morning raga stuff.
Yeah.
I would do that during my yoga practices, which you mentioned earlier.
Right.
But I didn't know that there were so many different ragas. I
Oh,
only knew about the morning ragas.
So there are 72
Yeah.
basic and permutation and combination. So that will be like thousands.
Wow. Now, how old is this instrument?
Yeah, so it's divided in 1700 BC. So before Christ, 1700. So it is quite old.
Wow.
But this instrument you're asking, this especially, so this would be 1990s, early 1990s.
Okay.
So this is not my Veena. Some very kind, one of the most very good professional artists in India is living here with her family. So she lended me. So this is 1900s. But my Veena, I have two Veenas. One is new and one is, I think, 30 years or 30 to 40 years. Yeah. That's a second-hand Veena. Okay, there's another thing. So this is made of jackfruit tree. So as there are 100-year-old, 200-year-old Veenas. So as the wood gets old, the sound is better. I don't know the physics behind that, but that's what my guru have told. And
Wow. So the older the better.
older the better. And also, so this is a normal Veena, but this is also Ekanta Veena. So that this entire thing is carved out of one single wood. So that's also the best for the better harmonic. If it's carved out from one wood. And yeah, so but sometimes people have told there's a black Veena. it's a very pretty way. That's Indian rosewood. That also has like greater tonal quality.
That's awesome. I would like to know the science behind that too.
Yeah.
Not particularly.
I don't know why, because I cannot see any string has anything with the wood. I don't know.
Do you ever play this for yourself just for the fun?
Sorry?
Do you ever play this for yourself just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, like the instrument? Yeah.
How does it sound?
Oh yeah, how do you tune it? That's a great question.
How do I tune it? So, I was wondering. So, okay, maybe I can just show it here. So, I can like tuning up and down with this pegs. Like for example, this is high, this is low. And sometimes, if you feel it's not like holding properly, you can put, after fixing, you can put water here. So the osmosis and it just fixes there.
So you know which note to start on? Like you have the ear for exactly how it's
Oh
supposed to
yeah, so
sound?
I tuned it before coming here, as I said, 150 frequency. So there are apps in both Android and iPhone for Tanpura. The music which I played in the PowerPoint. So that is again an instrument, but that looks like this, vertical. So that instrument is only to give the frequency. Usually in bigger concerts with accompanying instruments, that is used as the frequency giving stuff. And based on that, you can tune it up or down.
You said I don't know what type of music. There's 22 notes in an octave, and then I guess Western music has 12 notes.
1 to 12. That's what I read in PowerPoint. I'm not trained in Western, so I cannot say that. But this is what I've read it in a authentic website. So.
What are your thoughts on the differences in like?
I mean, my thoughts. I would say there are more. So, for example, when I play here, the basic notes are. Basic note. This is 1 octave. 1 octave starts from here to here. But there are 22. That is. So how is it different? Maybe, as I said, with this 22 and this 22, we do have many and many compositions and many. So ragam is just a pattern of these notes, right? So with this 22 notes, the number of ragams I can make is high, right? Compared to 12. So I think that permutation and combination is the thing. But I don't know what I think about it. More the spectra, more the ragam, more the tone. That's what I think. But I don't have training in Western, so I cannot exactly say what would be the difference. But this would be one that we have more options.
Have you ever played the piano?
I was trained in keyboard for 1 year.
So like the bass instrument is designed to have the scale. Like the piano is designed for 12. This is designed for